Over the following months, Sophia and Julian collaborated on 3 more charity events. Their professional relationship evolved into a cautious friendship. Julian consulted her on his struggling restaurant's menus, while Sophia found herself valuing his business acumen as she navigated international expansion opportunities. Gradually, carefully, they rediscovered each other, not as they had been, but as they had become. Julian attended the opening of her Los Angeles restaurant, staying quietly in the background as Sophia shone. Sophia offered candid advice when he considered closing his flagship restaurant to focus on a new sustainable concept. Between charity events and industry functions, late-night phone calls and occasional shared meals, something undeniable was rebuilding between them. Not the unbalanced relationship of the past, but something with stronger foundations, built on mutual respect, shared passion, and the wisdom that comes from having lost something precious once before. One evening, after a successful collaboration in Chicago, they walked along Lake Michigan, the water reflecting a sky ablaze with sunset colors. "I'm considering a location in New York next year," Sophia said, watching the water lap against the shore. "The East Coast market is ready for roots and spice." Julian nodded thoughtfully. "You should talk to Elaine Martinez. She has a space in Soho that would be perfect for your concept. No criticism, no warnings about overexpansion, just support." Sophia stopped walking, turning to face him. 3 years ago, you would have given me 10 reasons why New York would eat me alive. 3 years ago, I was an arrogant fool who didn't recognize what was right in front of him." Julian's expression was open, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen during their relationship. "You've proven you don't need my advice or approval. But I'm honored that you still share your dreams with me." The setting sun illuminated his face, highlighting the new lines that experience had carved. Without overthinking, Sophia reached up and touched his cheek, a gesture of intimacy they hadn't shared since before their separation. "I think," she said softly, "that I'm finally ready to consider what comes next. For us." His smile held hope tinged with caution. "Whatever that looks like, I just want to be part of your story, Sophia, even if just as a friend who believes in you more than anyone." As the sun disappeared beyond the horizon, Sophia realized that sometimes the heart's most difficult journeys led exactly where you needed to go, not back to what was, but forward to what could be. Part 5. Table for 2 golden hour sunlight streamed through the windows of Roots and Spice's newest location, casting a warm glow across the private dining room where Sophia was arranging test dishes for tomorrow's soft opening. New York had embraced her concept enthusiastically, with reservation requests flooding in months before they were ready to open doors. Her phone buzzed with a message from Julian. "Flight landed. Hotel checking me in. Can't wait to see what you've created." Sophia smiled, setting down her tweezers. Over the past year, their relationship had evolved with deliberate care, friendship deepening into something more meaningful, yet fundamentally different from what they'd shared before. Distance helped. With Julian based in San Francisco and Sophia constantly traveling between her restaurant locations, they moved forward thoughtfully, each step considered. "Chef, the sommelier needs your approval on the pairings," her sous chef called from the kitchen doorway. "Coming," Sophia replied, taking one last look at the beautifully plated dish, butter-poached lobster with jasmine tea infusion and 5-spice oil, a creation that embodied her culinary philosophy of honoring tradition while embracing innovation. Hours later, after final preparations were complete and staff had been briefed for tomorrow's opening, Sophia changed from her chef's whites into a simple black dress. Julian was waiting in the restaurant's entry, admiring the custom mural that depicted culinary traditions from across Asia blending into a modern New York cityscape. "This is extraordinary," he said as she approached. His admiration was genuine, his eyes taking in every detail of the space she had conceived. "You've outdone yourself." "Thank you." Sophia accepted his brief, warm embrace. "I think this might be my favorite location yet." They walked to a small neighborhood bistro several blocks away, a deliberate choice to avoid the scrutiny of industry insiders who might recognize them. Over shared plates and excellent wine, they discussed everything and nothing. The sustainable fishing initiative Julian was developing with a collective of Bay Area chefs, Maya's graduation plans, the cookbook series Sophia had been offered. "I have something for you," Julian said as they finished dessert, reaching into his jacket pocket. He withdrew a small wrapped package. "A congratulations gift for the New York opening." Sophia unwrapped it carefully to find an antique jade pendant, carved in the shape of a peony. Elegant and understated. "It reminded me of what you once told me about your grandmother," Julian explained. "How she believed peonies represented prosperity and new beginnings." The thoughtfulness of the gift moved her. This Julian, attentive, remembering details she'd shared years ago, was the man she had glimpsed beneath the ambition and control, the one she had once hoped he would become. "It's perfect," she said softly, touching the smooth stone. "Thank you." Later, they walked through Washington Square Park, the city vibrant around them despite the late hour. Their hands brushed occasionally, a quiet electricity passing between them. "Do you ever think about how different things might have been?" Julian asked, pausing by the illuminated fountain. "If I hadn't been so threatened by your potential? If I had supported you from the beginning?" Sophia considered the question carefully. "Sometimes, but then I wouldn't be who I am now." She turned to face him. "What happened between us was painful, but necessary. I needed to build Roots and Spice on my own terms, to prove to myself what I was capable of. And I needed to fail," Julian admitted, "to lose 2 restaurants and face my own limitations. To understand that control isn't the same as strength." Sophia studied him, the humility in his expression so different from the arrogance she'd once known. "We've both changed." "You more than me," he countered with a gentle smile. "You were always extraordinary, Sophia. I just couldn't see it clearly through my own ego." The night air carried a hint of autumn crispness. Sophia pulled her light jacket closer, suddenly aware of standing at a crossroads. The past year of careful friendship and growing closeness had brought them here, to a moment requiring decision rather than contemplation. "Julian," she began, her voice steady, "I've been thinking about us, about what might be possible now." His expression grew serious, attentive. "I have too. But Sophia, I need you to know something first." He took a careful breath. "Whatever you decide, whether there's a future for us or not, it doesn't change how proud I am of what you've built, or how much I believe in your vision. My support isn't conditional on your feelings for me." The words washed over her like a revelation. This, perhaps more than anything, demonstrated how truly he had changed. The Julian she'd left would have used her success to leverage a relationship. This Julian separated them entirely. "I know," she said simply, reaching for his hand. Their fingers intertwined naturally. "That's why I think I'm ready to try again. Not as we were, but as we are now." Relief and joy spread across his features. "I've hoped, but I wouldn't have presumed." "No presumptions," Sophia agreed. "Just 2 people who've earned the right to start fresh." The next morning dawned clear and bright, opening day for Roots and Spice New York. Sophia arrived early, Julian at her side by choice rather than expectation. While her team made final preparations, they shared coffee in the quiet dining room. "Nervous?" he asked, watching her scan the space with a practiced eye. "Always," she admitted. "Each opening feels like sending your child to their first day of school." Julian smiled. "They'll love it. How could they not?" Maya arrived an hour later, stylish and poised in her role as operations director. She eyed Julian warily despite the truce they'd established over recent months. "Everything's ready," she told Sophia, deliberately professional. The first private guests arrive at 11. When she stepped away, Julian sighed. "She still doesn't trust me. I don't blame her. Maya protected me when I was broken," Sophia explained. "She'll come around when she's ready. Just keep being the man you've become." The soft opening proceeded flawlessly. Influential food critics, investors, and selected guests experiencing Sophia's vision brought to life in the heart of Manhattan. Throughout the day, Julian remained in the background, offering support when needed, but never inserting himself into her spotlight. As evening approached and the final guests departed, Sophia found herself standing in the center of her newest achievement, a restaurant that embodied everything she had fought to create. Maya was directing staff in post-service cleanup, while Julian waited patiently near the bar. "What are you thinking?" he asked when she joined him. Sophia surveyed the space, remembering the words that had once nearly destroyed her confidence. "You'll never make it alone." "I'm thinking about journeys," she replied. "How sometimes they take you exactly where you need to go, even when the path isn't what you expected." Julian's hand found hers, steady and warm. "Where do we go from here?" Blossoming Empire. 3 years passed in a blur of 16-hour days, rave reviews, and expanding horizons. What began as a single, modestly successful restaurant had bloomed into a culinary brand that defied all expectations. Sophia Lynn, once dismissed as a dreamer with unrealistic ambitions, now presided over 4 Roots and Spice locations across the Bay Area, with a 5th opening in Los Angeles next month. "The Sustainability Award presenter just confirmed," Maya said, entering Sophia's office at the Oakland flagship restaurant. At 21, Maya had grown into a poised young woman, now the operations manager for the entire Roots and Spice enterprise while pursuing her business degree. Also, the James Beard Foundation sent the official invitation for next month's ceremony. "You're definitely a finalist, Soph." Sophia looked up from the seasonal menu revisions she was drafting. "I still can't believe it. Best New Chef nomination seemed impossible just a year ago." Her phone buzzed with an email notification from the International Culinary Summit organizers, confirming her speaking slot on their Future of Sustainable Dining panel in New York. The message included the updated speaker list. Halfway down, a familiar name caught her eye: Julian Mercer. "Julian's on my panel at ICS," Sophia said, her voice carefully neutral. Maya's expression darkened slightly. "Are you okay with that? I can call them and request a schedule change." "No need." Sophia set down her phone. It was bound to happen eventually. The culinary world isn't that large. The truth was more complicated. Sophia had deliberately avoided industry events where Julian might appear, sending Maya or her executive chef as representatives. Their paths had nearly crossed at last year's Golden Gate Food Festival, but Sophia had ducked out early, not ready to face the man whose dismissal had once shattered her confidence. Now things were different. Roots and Spice had revolutionized Asian fusion cuisine with its commitment to local sourcing and zero-waste practices. Meanwhile, according to industry gossip, the Mercer Group was struggling to maintain relevance in a rapidly evolving culinary landscape, with 2 locations closing in the past year. The week of the summit arrived too quickly. New York greeted Sophia with unseasonably warm spring weather and a schedule packed with meetings, interviews, and networking events. Her cookbook publisher had arranged a signing at a prestigious bookstore, and 3 potential investors were eager to discuss expansion opportunities in Chicago and Miami. On the morning of the panel, Sophia chose her outfit carefully, a tailored burgundy suit that projected confidence without ostentation. Her assistant had briefed her on the moderator's likely questions and the backgrounds of her fellow panelists, including Julian's recent pivot toward sustainability, which critics had labeled a belated attempt to capture changing consumer preferences. She spotted him the moment she entered the green room. Julian Mercer, still handsome at 42, though new lines bracketed his mouth and silver threaded his temples. He was engaged in conversation with a renowned French chef, his posture relaxed yet commanding as ever. When their eyes met across the room, time seemed to compress. 3 years of growth, success, and healing collapsed into a single heartbeat of recognition. Julian excused himself from his conversation and approached, his expression unreadable. "Sophia, it's been a while." "It has," she agreed, extending her hand professionally. "Congratulations on your new concept in Chicago." He accepted the handshake, his fingers warm against hers. "Thank you. Though it pales compared to what you've built. 4 locations in 3 years is extraordinary." The sincerity in his voice surprised her. This wasn't the patronizing Julian she remembered, but someone who spoke to her as an equal, perhaps even with a hint of admiration. 5, actually, she corrected gently. "Los Angeles opens next month." Something flickered in his eyes. I've followed your journey. Your approach to fusion cuisine is innovative, genuinely groundbreaking. Before Sophia could respond, the moderator called them to take their places. Throughout the hour-long panel, she found herself hyper-aware of Julian's presence beside her, even as she articulately discussed her philosophy of cultural respect in fusion cooking and the importance of sustainable practices. Julian, for his part, seemed humbled when describing his company's late adoption of farm-to-table practices. Sometimes those of us who found success in one era struggle to evolve with the times, he admitted. Chefs like Sophia Lin represent the future, those who understood inherently what many of us had to learn the hard way. The audience applauded his candor, but Sophia found herself stunned by this public acknowledgement. The Julian she'd known would never have conceded superior insight to anyone, let alone her. At the reception afterward, surrounded by admirers and potential collaborators, Sophia caught glimpses of Julian across the room. He seemed less at the center of attention than she remembered, more observer than star. As the event wound down, he approached her one final time. I owe you an apology, he said quietly, his voice nearly lost in the ambient noise. What I said to you that night, about never making it alone, I couldn't have been more wrong. Sophia felt an unexpected twist in her chest. We all say things we regret. Some words do more damage than others. His gaze was steady, unflinching. You've created something remarkable, Sophia. Something authentically yours. Before she could formulate a response, Julian handed her a business card. I'm involved with a charity dinner series supporting culinary education for underprivileged youth. We'd be honored to have you participate. No pressure, of course. Their fingers brushed as she accepted the card. For a fleeting moment, Sophia remembered other touches, other times, before ambition and ego had carved a chasm between them. I'll consider it, she said carefully. Julian nodded, seeming to understand the weight of even this small concession. That's all I can ask. As he walked away, Sophia remained rooted in place, the business card a tangible reminder of a past she thought she'd left behind. Her empire had blossomed beyond anything Julian had believed possible, beyond what she herself had sometimes dared to imagine. Yet standing there amid her success, she confronted an unexpected question. Was there room in her carefully constructed new life for second chances? Hearts reconsidered. You can't seriously be considering this, Maya said, pacing across Sophia's hotel suite. The Manhattan skyline glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights competing with the stars. After everything he put you through? Sophia studied Julian's charity dinner invitation. The Young Culinary Artists Foundation supported exactly the kind of disadvantaged youth she'd once been, passionate about food but lacking resources and connections. The participating chef list was impressive, representing diverse culinary traditions from around the world. This isn't about Julian, Sophia explained, though the flutter in her stomach suggested otherwise. The cause is worthwhile. And from a business perspective, the exposure for roots and spice would be significant. Maya crossed her arms. I know that look. This isn't just professional consideration. Sophia sighed, setting down the invitation. He apologized, Maya, sincerely. People can change. Or they can get better at hiding who they really are. Maya's protective instinct had only intensified with their success. Just be careful. You've worked too hard to let him back in just to have him undermine your confidence again. 2 weeks later, Sophia found herself in the kitchen of an exclusive Tribeca event space, preparing her signature 5-spice short ribs alongside 11 other acclaimed chefs. The charity dinner was structured as a 12-course tasting menu, each chef contributing one exquisitely crafted dish representing their unique culinary voice. Julian moved efficiently between stations, coordinating timing and presentation with a deftness that reminded Sophia why she'd been drawn to him initially. His own course, a reimagined coq au vin that honored tradition while incorporating sustainable practices, was scheduled right before Sophia's. Need anything? He asked, pausing at her station. The kitchen buzzed around them, a controlled chaos of creation and precision. I'm all set, Sophia replied, carefully arranging microgreens atop her dish. "Though I'm curious why you placed me last in the savory courses." A small smile touched his lips. "Best for last. Your dish will be the one they remember." The evening progressed seamlessly. Each course met with appreciation from the wealthy donors and industry influencers in attendance. When Julian introduced Sophia before her course was served, his praise was genuine and generous, acknowledging her as a visionary who understood the future of cuisine while the rest of us were clinging to the past. Later, as the event wound down and staff cleared the last dessert plates, Julian found Sophia in the now quiet kitchen packing her knives. "Your dish was the highlight of the night," he said, leaning against a counter. "The foundation raised over $300,000, almost double last year's total." "That's wonderful." Sophia closed her knife roll. "These kids deserve the chance to pursue their dreams. Like you did." Julian's gaze was intent. "Despite my attempts to discourage you." The directness of his acknowledgement surprised her. "Why did you do it, Jules? Was it really just about protecting me from failure?" Shattered dreams. The steam from the experimental truffle risotto swirled upward as Sophia Lynn gave it a final stir. Her apartment kitchen, small but efficient, had become her laboratory of late. A place where Chinese culinary traditions married Italian techniques in ways that made perfect sense to her palate but defied conventional restaurant menus. "Jules will love this," she murmured, adjusting the flame. Tonight was important. After 3 years together, she was finally ready to share her vision with Julian Mercer, her boyfriend and owner of Mercer Group Restaurants, a collection of high-end dining establishments that had made him a culinary star in San Francisco. The door opened precisely at 7. Julian entered with his usual confident stride, his tailored suit slightly rumpled from a day of meetings. "Something smells incredible," he said, kissing her cheek before loosening his tie. "Though I did just come from a tasting at Aqua. The new chef there is doing interesting things with sea urchin." Sophia nodded, used to these casual reminders of Julian's culinary empire. "I hope you saved room. This is special." Over dinner, Julian praised her cooking while scrolling through emails. Sophia took a deep breath and unfolded a small business plan she had crafted over months of research. "I've been thinking about my own restaurant," she began, her voice steady despite the flutters in her stomach. "A place that honors my heritage but isn't traditional Chinese. Farm-to-table Asian fusion with rotating seasonal menus. I've found a small space in the Mission District that would be perfect." Julian's fingers stopped scrolling. He set his phone down, his expression shifting from distraction to amusement. "Sophia, opening a restaurant isn't like hosting dinner parties. The failure rate is astronomical, especially for concepts this niche." He took a sip of wine. "Besides, why compete with what we've built? You could always take a position at one of my restaurants if you're feeling restless." "I don't want to work for you, Jules. I want to create something of my own." Julian's smile faded. "The restaurant industry will eat you alive. You're talented in the kitchen, sure, but you've never managed staff, negotiated with suppliers, or handled the business side. You need more experience before diving in." "I've been working in kitchens since I was 16, Sophia countered, heat rising in her cheeks. "And my business degree—" "Theory isn't practice," Julian cut in. "Look, I'm being realistic. 9 out of 10 restaurants fail in the first year. Your concept is too experimental for mass appeal." Sophia set down her fork. "You haven't even looked at my business plan. I don't need to. I've seen 100 plans like it from eager chefs with stars in their eyes." His tone softened, patronizing. "You're passionate, but passion doesn't pay bills. You'll never make it on your own in this cutthroat industry." The words sliced through her like a perfectly sharpened chef's knife. "Maybe I would if you believed in me." "This isn't about belief. It's about business sense." Julian reached for her hand. "I'm trying to protect you from disappointment." Sophia pulled away, standing abruptly. "No, you're protecting your ego. You can't stand the thought that I might succeed without your name attached to mine." The argument escalated, exposing fault lines that had been forming beneath their relationship for months. His control, her stifled ambitions, mutual resentments tucked away beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect partnership. By morning, Sophia had packed her essentials into her car, along with her 17-year-old sister Maya, who had been living with them since their parents returned to Taiwan. Maya had witnessed everything, her dark eyes solemn as she carried her backpack to Sophia's Honda. "Where will we go?" Maya asked quietly. Sophia started the engine, her hands steady despite the tears that threatened. "Forward," she answered, pulling away from the luxury apartment building without looking back. Always forward. As the city fell away behind them, Sophia's mind raced with uncertainty and fear. But beneath those emotions stirred something else, a fierce determination that had been dormant for too long. Julian's words echoed in her mind. "You'll never make it on your own." She would prove him wrong, not just for her pride, but for the fire in her soul that refused to be extinguished. Seeds of resilience. "Hold the phone higher, Maya. I need to get the whole dish in frame," Sophia instructed, adjusting the garnish on her 5-spice braised short ribs. Their rented one-bedroom apartment in Oakland was a far cry from Julian's sleek penthouse, but the kitchen window provided perfect natural light for food photography. Maya sighed dramatically but complied, steadying her hand. "This is the third take, Soph. My arm's going numb." "Last one, I promise." Sophia carefully drizzled a reduction sauce over the dish. "These photos need to look professional. We can't afford a proper camera yet." 6 months had passed since their abrupt departure from San Francisco. Sophia had found work as a line cook at a busy brunch spot, working nights as a prep cook at an upscale sushi restaurant. The hours were brutal, but the dual income kept them afloat while Maya finished high school. Every free moment was dedicated to her dream, developing recipes, building a social media presence for Roots and Spice, and saving every penny for her eventual restaurant. Unlike the polished, perfectly curated accounts of established chefs, Sophia chose raw authenticity, sharing failures alongside successes, their tiny kitchen, and the story of rebuilding from scratch. "Posted," Maya announced, returning Sophia's phone. 27 likes already. That fusion dumplings video from yesterday hit 3,000 views. Sophia wiped her hands on her apron. "Really? Let me see." The comments section was filled with encouragement, questions about techniques, and increasingly inquiries about where people could taste her food. It wasn't just engagement, it was a community forming around her culinary vision. "You should do a pop-up dinner," Maya suggested, stealing a taste of the sauce. "That empty cafe near my school does event rentals on weekends. Their kitchen's decent." The idea took root. Using her growing social media following, Sophia announced a one-night dinner service. 30 seats, prefix menu, reservation only. To her shock, it sold out within hours. The night of the event, Sophia's hands trembled as she plated the first course. Scallion pancake tacos with 5-spice pork belly and pickled daikon slaw. The kitchen was unfamiliar, smaller than ideal, but her body moved with practiced precision, falling into the rhythm she'd honed through thousands of hours at the stove. From the dining room came sounds of delight, conversations punctuated by appreciative murmurs. Maya served as hostess, her natural charm putting guests at ease. A food blogger captured the evening on her Instagram stories, praising the hidden gem she'd discovered. A local restaurateur left his card, mentioning a space opening up in the spring. By midnight, exhausted but elated, Sophia counted their earnings, enough to fund 2 more pop-ups and start a modest equipment fund. "We did it," she whispered to Maya as they loaded the last containers into their car. Maya bumped her shoulder affectionately. "You did it!" "I just carried plates and charmed people." "Team effort," Sophia insisted. "I couldn't do this without you." The pop-ups became monthly events, each more successful than the last. A feature in a local food magazine brought attention from investors. One evening, as Sophia explained her concept to an interested couple, the woman mentioned she owned a vacant restaurant space in Temescal, a rapidly developing Oakland neighborhood. "The last tenant couldn't make it work, but your concept feels different," she said. "Let's talk numbers." The lease terms were favorable. The owner believed in Sophia's vision and offered 3 months free rent to complete renovations. With careful budgeting and a small business loan, opening her own place suddenly seemed possible. The night before signing the lease, Sophia's phone buzzed with a notification. Julian had watched her Instagram story, the first sign he'd been keeping tabs on her progress. Minutes later, a text. "Congratulations on the pop-ups. Impressive work." Sophia stared at the message, a complex tangle of emotions rising within her. Pride, vindication, a hint of something else she refused to name. She typed several responses before settling on a simple, "Thank you." Then she set her phone aside and returned to her business plan. Julian's approval or disapproval no longer determined her worth. She had discovered something more valuable than his validation, belief in herself. 2 months later, standing in the partially renovated space that would become Roots and Spice, Sophia ran her fingers along the reclaimed wood bar. Sunlight streamed through windows that would soon look out on communal tables where strangers would become friends over shared plates of her food. "What are you thinking?" Maya asked, joining her. Sophia smiled. "That sometimes getting shattered is the best thing that can happen to you. You get to decide how to put yourself back together."